The well-known journalist and conspiracy theorist Benjamin Fulford in his weekly news presents the financial system of the Hazar Group will be disconnected. The international alliance fighting for the liberation of humanity from the Zazarian Group has won a number of important victories over the past week. The biggest one is the growing international boycott of their fraudulent financial system. Russia, China, the Middle East, Africa and Latin America are joining this boycott. As soon as they lose control of the money, the game really ends. This step came into force on April 1, when Russian President Vladimir Putin signed a decree obliging unfriendly countries to pay for Russian gas in gold and rubles backed by assets. Propaganda talk about global sanctions against Russia by the U.S. corporate government is pure bluff, because it is an organization with the largest debt in the history of mankind, with unpaid bills amounting to more than $200 trillion. In addition, Russia's natural resources are estimated at $75 trillion, compared to about $45 trillion in the United States. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov describes the situation as follows: a new reality is emerging. The unipolar world is irrevocably passing into the past and a multipolar world is emerging. This is an objective process that cannot be stopped. There will be no single ruler in this new reality. No one on earth will be considered a second-rate player. All nations are equal and sovereign. The rest of the world has resolutely turned away from the controlled Big Seven, partly because the Russian Defense Ministry published documents on secret U.S. activities in Ukraine. The documents establish that specific officials involved in the creation of dangerous substances. These campaigns were directly connected with the son of the current U.S. President Hunter Biden. The Russian gas giant Gazprom has already officially stopped all supplies to Europe via the Yamal-Europe pipeline, which is crucial for Europe's energy supply. This prompted Germany to launch an emergency plan to manage gas supplies, while Greece called an emergency meeting of utilities. The Dutch government urged consumers to use less gas, and France's energy regulator urged consumers not to panic. The impact on the population will cause a revolution, as prices in German retail chains will soar by 20 to 50%. U.S. President Joe Biden was also forced to use strategic oil reserves after the rest of the world refused to accept their worthless dollars as payment. The U.S. government is already in a state of complete collapse. The latest evidence of this is the record number of vacancies in the United States. This is not due to a growing economy, but rather to an increasing crime rate. If you can steal $900 with impunity, it encourages crime and reduces the incentives to find a job, explains finance expert Jeff Gundlach. The police cannot investigate minor crimes because they cannot even deal with serious crimes because of the complete violation of law and order. In other words, there is a slave revolt in the United States. More and more people are realizing that the governments of the G7 countries are under the control of a cult that is trying to remove them. Here is what the leader and Messiah Menachem Mendel Schneerson says about Russia. Slavic Russia may be destroyed, but it will never be conquered. For this reason, this seed will be eliminated, and its initial amount will be significantly reduced. If they take out the Russians, they will try to take out the Chinese and other people. Now the world is being presented with irrefutable evidence that this cult is trying to destroy 90% of the world's population and enslave the rest. For this reason, the international boycott has had its effect. Now even the International Drug Group has announced measures against the Khazars. Last week, a representative of the world's banned substances contacted the alliance and stated, the global cartels will turn their rat-infested warehouses full of US dollar bills into silver, gold and other goods. Thus, they could simultaneously launder their money and undermine the financial system of the Hazar Group, the representative explained. The finance ministers of Latin American countries declare that they cannot openly abandon American corporate dollars for fear of an invasion by American troops, but they will support this step by providing silver and so on. The North Koreans have also played their part and no longer accept fiat dollars to pay for substances. As a Mossad source explains, our old modern society encouraged stories about orphans and orphanages, even the men are stories about finding and raising children with special abilities and talents DNA. This is all subconscious programming related to underground harvesting farms. The children were laboratory mice and food sources for these people and their non-human hosts. Connect the dots. It's all connected. The incubators were just another facade. Where and how did they take the children? This is completely new information for me. Evergreen's giant cargo ship Fulford has been stuck in mud in the Chesapeake Bay off the coast of Baltimore for more than 2 weeks and cannot be retrieved. Capable of destroying the entire Washington area and which will explode if the American government does not clear the Hazar Group in the United States. Meanwhile, the agency and the white helmets of the Pentagon continue to hunt for fans of Horned. For celebrities, this is usually announced as, they have a positive test result. The latest case, CIA Director William Burns tested positive. Intelligence reported that Burns had mild symptoms and received 2 doses of the cocktail. He was caught too. They round them up. One by one, explains a CIA source. In Australia, Senator Malcolm Roberts informs the Prime Minister that they will be tracked down and prosecuted for cocktail-related crimes. Do you remember the actions of New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern? Look at her face. It's broken. It's only a matter of time before she tries out a beautiful prison cell and everything connected with it. Last week we learned from a source in Canada that Justin Castro is a descendant of Russian dictator Joseph Stalin. It is said that he was nominated as a Manchu candidate to turn Canada into a Hazar communist state. Of course, there are strong similarities between Castro and Stalin. This and his long list of criminal offenses are the reason that it is no longer safe for him to appear in public. His days are numbered. Also in France, French Army Major Alain Bont claims that Macron has alienated 4 French armies, land, air, sea and gendarmerie, announces fraud in the presidential elections of 2022 and confirms the fraud of 2017. The whole story of the cold is also falling apart. Of course, the Hazar Group is trying to get out of the case with diversions and fraud, but it does not work. For example, Will Smith's fake slap in the face at the Oscars was organized by Hollywood, desperate for attention and ratings, the source said. Take a look at the stage where the Oscar ceremony took place. The all-seeing eye of the Illuminati. According to CIA sources, all Hollywood celebrities who visited Epstein Island were cleaned up with white hats. Isn't that why Jim Carrey, Bruce Willis and Sandra Bullock are taking a break from Hollywood? The fake Bidone show is also entering its final days. Apparently, the fake press secretary of President Bidone, Jen Zuckerberg Rockefeller, knows that the show is coming to an end, so she goes to work at MSNBC, engaged in propaganda in the media. Look into her soulless eyes. There is no doubt that the rule of the Hazar Group will collapse and humanity will be liberated.